If the Sovereignty II COVID-19 vaccine from Cuba has passed the relevant trials, St. Kitts and Nevis should acquire it even without the World Health Organization's emergency use authorization. That's the view of former Chief Medical Officer Dr. Patrick Martin.
I understand the importance of a WHO certification, but if a firestorm of COVID threatens St. Kitts and Nevis, and a vaccine is working in Cuba, we don't have to wait for WHO. As a sovereign country, we can make our own decisions.
Some persons in St. Kitts and Nevis have expressed a willingness to accept the Cuban vaccine over the AstraZeneca vaccine that is currently being administered. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws said last week that the Cuban vaccine would be acquired once it meets the relevant international health safety standards.
We will consider vaccines that have achieved the World Health Organization emergency use listing. So right now Cuba has about 4 to 5 vaccines under production. Now these are protein vaccines. They are very promising, but then the scientist tells you that the Cubans took time to understand the virus, to understand the disease before they started. So they started late. And so there are a number of months before we can have access to the Cuban vaccines because they have not completed the phase 3 trials as yet. And so right now they are vaccinated their persons at home in Cuba to see how the vaccine works. They are collaborating with Iran, Venezuela, Mexico, just to name a few. They're collaborating with other countries in order to get their phase 3 trials completed so that we can even know what the efficacy of these vaccines are. So a lot of information is still left to be known about the vaccine candidates coming out of Cuba. So it's going to be a few months before they would have achieved emergency use listing anywhere in the world.
And we have to be careful with fake news mixed in with some truth, because I've seen things being circulated. Oh, the Cuban vaccine was approved by the World Health Organization and it's available, it's going to be here next week, etc. That is not so, and one can easily go to the World Health Organization site and check that information. And I've seen that information being circulated even by supposedly reputable news agencies here. And that is not so. And one is not pitting one vaccine against the other at all. If there's a vaccine from Cuba that's approved and we have access to it, of course we will offer.
Yes.
But for now, it's not.
Meanwhile, Dr. Martin said the recent pronouncement by the Centers for Disease Control in the U.S. that fully vaccinated persons can ditch their masks is medically correct.
Persons who are fully vaccinated have very, very good protection against becoming seriously and critically ill, requiring hospitalization, including intensive care. In fact, what I just said applies to all of the vaccines in circulation. Very good at protecting the fully vaccinated against hospitalization and death. There's also the research that is showing that persons who are fully vaccinated are less likely to transmit the virus. And so, acting on the science, as it emerges in this evolving pandemic, the CDC has made recommendations to the policymakers by following the science. I think we in the Caribbean and here in St. Kitts and Nevis will get to that point sooner or later.
CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky defended the agency's decision to tell people who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19 they can go without a mask, as state officials grapple with whether to follow suit. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.